Okay, so I guess now the first people will soon be coming in. For everyone that is already in the chat room, welcome, welcome. We'll wait another few minutes before we start. So get a coffee, make yourself comfortable, and we'll start in a few minutes. Again, to everyone who just joined, we'll be waiting another 2-3 minutes before we start so that everyone can get settled and everyone who wants to join has the time to get into the room. And one thing also up front, you can, in the chat window that you see on the right side of your screen, you can ask questions during the whole interview, and we will be either answering some of them during the interview or otherwise at the end during the Q&A. So you can just keep asking questions in the chat on the right. So maybe that we can see where you guys are all from. You can type your country or your city where you are located at into the chat, so we see where everybody's joining in from today. Oliver from Zurich, Helen from London, Matthias from Germany, Berlin, Connie from Berlin, Vasco from Lisbon, Bern, Switzerland, Cologne, Germany. Nice. Very international today.
Hey, Manchester.
That's your hometown?
Yeah, that's where I'm from.
Right.
Hi, Emma.
All right, I think we are getting started. So welcome to our first Fireside live chat. This is a new format that we are trying out in collaboration with UX Live. And in this format, we want to interview UX experts from all over the world and look under the hood of their daily practice and hopefully get some insight how other people from the industry are conducting their business and getting results. So I am Sandro. I'm from Testing Time, and I will be your host today. And joining me is Lisa.
Hi, everyone.
And so Testing Time is a Europe-wide test user recruitment service with a pool of over 180,000 test users. And on our platform, testingtime.com, you can go online, define your target group, and we'll provide you with the matching study participants within 48 hours. And we are doing this Fireside chat in collaboration with UX Live. So UX Live is a UX conference series, which is positioned at the intersection of design, research, and technology. And the next event is actually going to be in, I think, 2 weeks on October 25th and 26th in London. So if you do not have a ticket yet and you are in London or want to go to London, you can go to ux-live.co and get one over there. And our first speaker in the Fireside chat series is Lisa Marie Ortega, and she will also be speaking at UX Live. We'll dig a little bit into that further in the interview. So welcome, Marie. Do you want to tell our audience today who you are and what your role is and your background? So that
yes. Hi, everyone. My name's Lisa. I'm from Manchester in the UK, and I run a business called Keep It Usable. So we're a multi-award winning UX agency. We help clients to improve their sales, improve conversion, to create experiences that are more in line with user needs. So we do a lot of research and a lot of design within that process. One of our specialisms is sort of psychology and behavior. So what I'm speaking about at UX Live in a couple of weeks is about psychology and how we can use that to make our user experiences more in line with customer needs, so that we can convert them more into customers. So we're going to be doing a lot of interesting stuff around understanding how people buy and why they buy and what we can do to convert them into customers.
Thank you, Marie.
Lisa.
So, Lisa Marie.
Yeah, Marie is my special name.
All right. So you mentioned actually before we were chatting, before we came onto the webinar, that you had 20 years of UX experience. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's my 20th anniversary of being in UX. Literally about a couple of weeks ago is when I first went to university. And so how I got into UX, that might be interesting for people to know, is I originally went to university and I studied computing and psychology as an undergraduate degree. And then back then, 20 years ago, you couldn't get a job after university without having a master's. So unfortunately, I have to go back and do a master's, which I did in human factors and ergonomics, and immediately got 2 job offers from that. So it really worked. I started my career in mobile. So I started at Sony Ericsson working on smartphones. So yeah, these things that are really popular nowadays, back then they weren't, they were all business phones. But that's where I started. I started as a usability specialist because UX didn't exist at the time. And my role was basically as an internal point of contact for any usability questions, point of contact for the designers to get some expertise on and user insights into their designs to make them more user-centric. And I conducted a lot of research as well. So a lot of research with consumers. I used to follow them down corridors, watching how they used mobile phones, looking over their shoulders, because we didn't have things like this. So this is a Mr. Tappy that we use for mobile testing. So I'll just show you that there, Mr. Tappy. So they didn't exist back then. So we had to look over people's shoulders and kind of see what they were doing, then make notes at the same time. It was really difficult. So you guys nowadays, you don't know how easy you've got it. It's much more easier now. And then after Sony Ericsson, I designed and built a social network. And then when that didn't take off, we created Keep It Usable. And that was kind of an immediate success here in Manchester and just gone from strength to strength, really. So some of the work we've done has been shown at 10 Downing Street in London. It's won awards. I've been on TV to talk about it. So yeah, it's really exciting. I really love what I do.
So you really are an ambassador also for the profession of UX and user research.
Definitely.
You don't see it on TV every day.
No, you don't really.
So you were just showing Mr. Tappy, and you were mentioning to me before that you are sitting in a very special room. Can you tell us about the room that you are sitting in?
Yeah, so we actually created Home UX Lab. So what we wanted to do was bring together the benefits of ethnographic research. So ethnographic is where you go and do research in people's homes. So you're in their environment. It has high research validity because people are behaving more natural. They're more likely to tell you what they're thinking because they're not constrained by the environment. But also, you know, when you're doing lab research, it has benefits in that you've got stakeholders watching in the room next door. So they're more engaged in the research. They feel like they're more in tune with the user and they're more likely to take those insights away and actually act on them, I think, anyway. So we wanted to bring those two sort of environments together. And we thought, right, what's the best way to do that? That's to create a homely environment that gives you the sort of the rigor of the lab environment, but with the comfort and relaxation of the home. So when we created our lab, we also went away from the one-way mirror approach. So our lab doesn't have a one-way mirror. So I'll just show you it quickly so that you can understand what it's like.
Yeah, that's fun.
So you can see we've got sort of homely wallpaper. We've got a front door as well. So if I just open this quickly, you'll see it actually looks like a front door as well. On the outside, we've got brick wallpaper, so it looks like a house when you're coming into it. And then we've got comfy chairs, fluffy carpet. So just thinking of the textures as well. And then where I'm sat at a desk. Actually, one of our users created this lovely book for us as well with paper folding. So they bring us presents occasionally.
It really does look like it.
Yeah. So the idea is that people come in. Sorry, let me just get this set up again. So people come in and it just beats all their expectations because they come in expecting an office environment, quite a formal room, quite a formal setup. And straight away, it just relaxes them. You know, they often come in and go, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting this. It's so cozy and homely. And then straight away, they can relax as well. They don't have to worry about big cameras as well. So we use little cameras. Like you can see with the Mr. Tappy here, it's quite a small camera. So just that pointing down over their phone, they just forget about it straight away, really. So we really put a lot of thought into the environment. It's not just about how you conduct research, it's about the environment you conduct it in as well. So I could be the best researcher in the world, but if I'm putting someone in an environment where they don't feel comfortable, they're never going to open up to me and tell me their honest thoughts and opinions. And that's really what we want to do, because conducting research, it's all about psychology and understanding, you know, what's really going on in their thought process, understanding their concerns and fears, what they're anxious about, and getting them to tell us about those things, which is quite difficult if someone doesn't feel comfortable.
That's very interesting. Can you tell us a bit more in detail about how does it look like when a participant comes into your office? What do you do? How do you make them feel comfortable? Do you offer them something to drink? How does that look like next to the lab itself?
Actually, the lab is next to our front door. So we didn't want to walk them through an office, because straight away, you know, if they see people sat at their desks, it will start to intimidate them. They'll start to think about the people that work at the company. So we try and get them into the research room as quickly as possible, so they don't have that interaction, they don't bump into stakeholders. And yeah, offer them a drink, make sure they don't spill it on your equipment, and give them a few snacks to eat as well. Depending on the time of day, you know, sometimes we do evening research. If it's in the evening, we'll give them beer and we'll give them pizzas to eat, and just make sure that they're comfortable and well looked after. Sometimes we put a bit of background music on as well, just to get away from that deadly silence that you can sometimes get. So yeah, we just think of things to do really to make them feel at home. And we even have these candles that we have. They're scented as well. So you walk into the room and you get sort of a nice scent as well. Just little touches like that can really make a difference to people.
Mm-hmm. And it's also about the experience of the test user, right? So thinking about the experience of the test user during the whole user test. Have you seen differences in results since you've opened the home lab?
Well, the reason I built it originally was because I had some bad experiences with one-way mirror labs. So, you know, sometimes you'd get a participant who, well, I mean, one person we had, and we literally had to stop the session early because she heard people through the one-way mirror, and the light came on accidentally at one point, so you could actually see the people in the other room.
Like the worst case scenario.
Oh God, it was awful. So we left it. Yeah, we stopped the session early and sent her home. She was petrified. You know, it didn't matter what I did as a researcher to try and relax her. She'd just gone by that point. So yeah, I mean, the other thing about one-way mirrors is that you've got to think of the observation experience as well. So I know so far I've spoken about the participants' experience, but also, you know, you want stakeholders to have a really great day out of the office. You want them to go away with ideas. And if you put people in a dark room, they're going to fall asleep. They're in this nice, warm, dark room. They're not going to talk to each other either, because what you find is, because they can see the person really clearly on the other side of the mirror, they tend to whisper more. So if you get away from that and you have a soundproof room, because this is soundproof as well, and they can actually just talk with each other, and it almost becomes a workshop day out where they can, stick the user interface designs around the room. When they listen to the user feedback, they can then scroll and draw ideas. They can talk, they can laugh. If the user says something funny, they don't have to worry about not laughing. And you can have natural daylight in the room as well. So in our observation room, we've got natural daylight. So we try and get away from putting people in a dark room. In fact, we even have creative lighting in there as well. So you can actually adjust the mood of the room. So you could have a red light if you want people to, I don't know if that fits your brand, or you want people to feel more passionate or angry. I don't know. We tend to stick with blue. That's a nice calming color and it suits our brand. But yeah, literally any color you can choose.
So in the observation room, how does that setup look like? So you record the screen and the face, and then have that on a separate screen in the observation room?
Yeah, exactly. So we're streaming through live video feeds and audio feeds what's going on here. So that also keeps stakeholders' concentration on what people are doing. So with a lab, with a one-way mirror lab, what you'll find is that the attention is directed to the mirror and what's going on, because it's huge. People want to watch the user and the research on the other side. And then your user interface and the interaction, say, for example, with the mobile, is on a small screen in the corner of the room. And so people are looking through the mirror, and they should actually be looking at the UI. So the other positive of this is that we concentrate people's attention on the user interface, because that's what we want. That's what they're here for. It's about user experience and their interaction with digital platforms. So we concentrate the stakeholders' attention on that and what people are saying, and then they can see them as well, but that's secondary. We've got it so that that's their secondary attention is drawn to the actual person's face. Yeah.
Very interesting.
So we thought about all the little details involved.
Yes, I can see that. So when we track back a little bit, so when you are, the participant has sat down and is ready for the test. Can you tell us a little bit about sort of how you start an interview or a user test, and also maybe some ideas and tips about interview techniques that you use?
Okay, so I always think, if you think from a person's perspective, they come in, they may have never done research before, they don't know what to expect, and they're a little bit worried about it. So it's nice just to do some general chit chat, about the weather, about what they've done at the weekend, just to relax them, and just spend 5 minutes on that. And then start with, obviously you do have some things that you need to do, like confidentiality forms, non-disclosure forms, consent forms. So just make sure you've got that out of the way as well. And that if they've got any questions, you've answered those as well. And then I tend to start with just some general questions around the theme of the research. So start quite broad and then narrow down into smaller areas. And then move on to the digital platform. So I'll start quite often not on digital, just as a one-to-one chat with them, and then we'll drill in deeper, and then I might give them some tasks to do. I might get them to rate those tasks. I always keep questions open as well, so you never want to be asking closed questions when you're doing research. You always want to be keeping open questions. Also follow up with your questions a lot as well. So I see a lot of researchers, they'll ask a question, the participant will answer, and then they'll move on to the next question. Whereas actually they could have probed the answer a bit more just to get to the deeper levels of understanding. You'd really get behind the deeper psychology as well. So sometimes people will tell you an answer, and actually the real answer is another why away from that. So you just need to ask another why on top of it, and you'll get to the true answer. So it's quite frustrating if you watch someone do an interview and they don't ask enough why questions or how questions.
Stay at the surface.
Yeah, questions that allow you to just dig a little deeper behind the surface answer that they give you to the true reasons. I always find that really interesting.
Interesting. So how do you, I mean, you've done probably hundreds of user tests during the past 20. How do you sort of balance larger research projects with sort of more of the lean, iterative user testing approach, especially if you are embedded in a product team and you are sort of rolling with the sprints? How do you sort of balance those two?
Well, I guess as a researcher, you always have to decide what the best method is. So you would, so us as an agency, for instance, someone will come to us and we have to ascertain if they've done research before, or if this is their first time. If they come to us with a mobile app, is this the first time they've done any research on that app? In which case we'll need to look at a bigger piece with more users, probably 1 hour sessions where you can get deeper into it, get them covering more tasks, have more conversation with them. Or is it that they've tested it in the past and it's just maybe it's part of the design process where they just want some quick iterative testing to feed into it, in which case we can have shorter sessions, we'd have to go as deep. It could be more of a usability test. And it could be where we just feed back verbally rather than writing a report, so that you can get really quick findings back to the design team, literally, on the same day even. So I guess, the method that you choose is very dependent on the problem that you're trying to solve and, what your hypotheses are for solving that problem. So it's never a one size fits all, which is why research is quite interesting. The approach you take, you might want to do some eye tracking on something, for instance, if you want to so you've got a mobile app and it's already had a lot of user testing, or you've got a website where you're looking at fine-tuning the conversion, fine-tuning the design for conversion to get more people to buy, then you might want to do some eye tracking just to see which content people are using, what they're not using, which text are they reading versus which text are they not reading, what are they indecisive about, where are the eyes flicking between two things, and you can see that there's a problem there. Why are they being indecisive? What is it that you could do to improve that and make that decision easier for them? There's a lot of different things out there, and it's good to read things and learn about the different methods and techniques, and then you pick and choose then from your toolkit what's best to approach that problem that you're being asked to solve.
And how do you think that user research sort of evolved over the past years, and what do you think we'll sort of see more or less of in the future?
Has it really evolved over the years? I mean, I've been in it 20 years and the basics are the same, really. Psychology was still, I don't think we'll ever really understand how people think, because we adapt over time as well. I've seen people's interaction change so much over the years. At one point people would blame themselves as well. Whenever I did a user test, people would just blame themselves if they did something wrong. That has definitely turned. Now people will blame the software or blame the company. If I can't use the Boots website, I'll blame Boots, whereas before I would have blamed myself. That has definitely changed massively. People are more aware of usability now as a term as well, ease of use. They're more aware of things needing to be easy. So that comes up a lot more. Technology we've got a bit better with. So, the eye trackers now, we're getting really nice glasses that have really thin frames that are quite nice for people to wear. So they're not as conscious about wearing them. They can forget about them a bit more. I think if there are any sort of developers watching this, I think we could do with some better software. That would be great, because I've used everything to record usability tests, and I still end up going back to Murray, and it's so clunky and old now, and but it's reliable. It never lets me down, whereas other software has let me down. It'd be great if someone could design us something funky, cool, and modern that we can use the test with. I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
There are a few questions already from the audience as well. Katerina asks, what sort of equipment do you use in general, in addition to Mr. Tappy, software and hardware? Do you have some, I mean, you just mentioned one software. Do you sort of always try new things, or do you sort of keep to your old tool stack?
I probably used to try more things before. Now I tend to stick with Murray a bit more now. But we've used things like QuickTime, Silverback we used to use until they stopped supporting it, they stopped developing it. Oh gosh, there were other things as well. Camtasia, for instance. You can do Google Hangouts. You could do remote software like GoToMeeting, and you can record from that as well. Zoom's quite good. So if you want to do mobile testing, but you're not too bothered about recording the finger movements, Zoom's quite good for remote moderated research. Hardware-wise, we use Macs or we use Windows computers. You can use whatever mobile. So actually what I quite like to do is get people to bring in their own device with them. So we'll get them to bring in their own mobile, stick the Mr. Tappy over it, and then you get their finger movements as well as what's on their screen. So that's quite important as well, is just seeing where people were going to press and they didn't quite press, or, you know, if something didn't work on the screen and they did press it, you can see the frustration where they're doing this and they're getting more annoyed in their face. So all that's really interesting to see as well. But yeah, we don't have big room cameras. So you might expect with us having a lab that we would have, you know, the big clunky cameras on the ceiling. Now, my experience with those is that you get the tops of people's heads. So what we did was we go with these small, I can't show you it because I'm using it at the moment to record myself, but, you know, just small little webcams that are high definition, you know, they're HD cameras. They have brilliant audio on them as well. That's all you need. You know, if you're just starting out, just invest in these Logitech HD cameras. And they're brilliant. You know, you get really good, you know, they zoom in really well, get really high quality definition. So yeah, you don't always have to spend a lot on these big cameras up on the wall where you get the tops of people's heads. You can get them actually just sat on the desk pointing up. You can get really good close-ups of people's face that way as well.
Well, thanks for that tool roundup. That's, I think, very interesting always for people to see.
Oh, there are document viewers as well. So we've got a document viewer, but I find the quality on that not as good as this. So I tend to revert back to this quite a lot as well.
All right, thank you. We're almost at the end already. Wow.
Oh my God.
That's fast.
There was so much more to cover.
So maybe one thing, you have a talk at UX Live in a couple of weeks.
I do.
And so can you tell us a bit more about what you'll be covering there and why you sort of chose that topic, why it's a current topic for you?
So I'm speaking about UX psychology. The reason is that psychology is fundamental to user experience, and I think it's getting a little bit overlooked and a little bit pushed to the side these days. You know, people are coming into UX, maybe into UX design, and they're maybe just changing from a different role. They've not necessarily been to university and studied computing and psychology like I did. So it's something that's really crucial to user experience. You know, user experience has users in the title, so it's all about understanding users. It's understanding people and how they think and how they behave. So it's really crucial to learn about, and it really helps you to design things that are going to resonate with people, engage with them, and be more effective. So my talk, there are quite a few things in my talk, so I'm just going to refer to the bullet points that I put down, but basically we're going to understand why people buy. We're going to understand how they buy. We're going to go through some of the famous principles out there, persuasion, and how we can use persuasion principles in design to convert people and change behavior and adapt it. We're going to look at the value of psychology in UX. Theories that you can apply to your work. So you're going to be able to go away from my session with things to do. And just a little tip for anyone out there going to UX Live, my session, I actually did this last year as well. So they invited me back to do another workshop this year. But last year it sold, well, the spaces on my workshop went immediately within about 10 minutes. So if you want to go to my workshop, just make sure you get in there quick. That's my big recommendation. We're also going to look at how you uncover user insights and use those to inform your designs. And how you persuade and influence people through design. So we're bringing the psychology into the design side, and looking at how we can make people do what we want them to do. In a nice way.
Nice. So everyone who is at UX Live should definitely check out Lisa's session, presentation and workshop. And so to sort of finish things off before the Q&A, final question, do you have some favorite books or online resources, tools you already mentioned, that sort of build your knowledge over time and that you use on a regular basis, maybe as a reference material? Yeah.
Actually, there is one that I've forgotten to bring in, but my favorite book is Gross Psychology. So it's called Psychology and it's by a guy, I think his first name's Richard Gross. But that took me all the way through university, and I've still got my copy now, and it's got coffee stains on it. It's got, damp stains on from where I put it on the windowsill at university. It's really well used and I love it. And that's just, my in-depth psychology book. But if you don't want to go read a massive book like this thick, I've got some more sort of digestible books for you. So the User Experience Team of One is really good as a starting point for people who want to get into UX. It's just really nicely written. There's lots of visuals in it as well, lots of photographs and things. It'll tell you how to do research. It'll give you some tips for design as well. And it's really good if you don't really have anyone else in your company that does UX. This will be your best friend, basically. And then I've got a couple from Susan Weinschenk, who inspired me really to focus on psychology within UX. I find psychology fascinating. And Susan's books, again, you can see they're quite thin, so they're quite nice to read. So this one is called Neuro Web Design. And you can see it's just lots of highlights as well for me, as I've been through it. But everything's just really digestible. This 100 things is literally, you can just pick it up, read one of the things. It's really nice just to dip in and out of, just to refresh yourself. So they're all about the psychology and how you apply psychology to UX. I think they're my favorite ones. Susan's definitely worth following her blog as well. She shares a lot of academic findings as well, so the latest academic research that you can apply to UX, just to keep up with what's going on.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So let's jump into the Q&A. 2-3 questions. I think we have time for that. So Katharina asks, if a company just starts doing user research and there's only one person responsible for user research, what would you recommend to do? Mobile testing, remote? You're already holding up the book.
Read this book. Yeah.
So this was, what was the book called again?
The User Experience Team of One.
Okay, good.
It's a Rosenfeld book.
Then Michael asks, once you have your research, how do you package your findings to make it easier to hand off to designers? Or do you make design changes yourself?
Both. So it depends. So some projects we do the design changes, which is obviously easy. So that means that me as the researcher can sit together with the designer and constantly give my input and assess the designs as well, and also apply that level of psychology to the designs as well. So the designs that we produce aren't just UX designs, they've got that level of persuasion in them as well. We're always thinking about, even just the words you use. You know, I don't know if you've heard of UX writing. It's copywriting applied to UX, and where you can actually reflect the way that people say things and describe things back into the copy of your website, and that will really resonate with people and engage with them. So just doing little things like that can make a big difference. If we're doing the research and handing it over to a design team, we will create a report of the findings, but not the stuff that you do at university. So, you know, we don't write long text reports that no one reads because they're so boring. We do things very visual, so taking screenshots and annotating those. So it's really easy for a designer to look at the page and go, right, these were the findings. This is what I need to do. And also creating a highlight video works really well as well. So just as a reminder for anyone who went to the research and they just want a quick 10-minute reminder of what the main findings were. And also for stakeholders that couldn't attend the research, it's a nice way just to understand what went on during the day and what users said without having to watch 8 hours of video. So yeah, I think presenting things really visually helps, especially designers, because they tend to be visual people. But it's all about, you know, communicating in a way that people will be able to get from that what they need, isn't it? So yeah, if it's designers, keep it visual, screenshots, not lots of text, be succinct, add evidence in there as well. So you know, add a user quote in there to back up your recommendation as well and back up the finding. So yeah, we're always evidencing with the research.
All right. Last question from Lena. Who do you suggest should be part of usability testing? And that's my question on top. And how do you sort of involve them? Product management, developers, etc.
I always think the more people that are involved, the better. And actually what I love to do is, because it can be difficult to get everyone out of the office and into the research lab for the day, we actually really like to stream it back to the office. So what we encourage people to do is set up a meeting room back at the office. We stream the research into that room, and it can be like a drop-in day for people. And you find that more people will attend it that way. So you will get the product managers popping in, and even CEOs we've had popping in just to see what's happening, because they're always interested to hear what customers say about their products. So I find that works well. We've had people dialing in as well. So as well as streaming it into a meeting room back at the office, you can also send out a dial-in link. And then people can be working from home and dialing in. They can be doing their work at the same time. So that way they're not feeling guilty for taking time away from work. Although it's nice if they can do that, if they can just take a day out to engage with the user research. You know, sometimes they just can't. So if they can be sat at their desk, have their headphones in like this, and they can be listening to the research as they're doing the work, at least it's going in. Something's going into their head. You know, they're there in spirit. So yeah, I always think the more people you can get watching research, the better, because it affects the whole company. It affects the whole business. You know, we've had CEOs making major business decisions based on the results of our research that we do. It's not just about the design team. It's much wider than that. You know, the more that you can learn about your customers, just the whole better your business will be and the more successful you'll be at the end of the day.
So apart from making it easily accessible during live sessions or live streams and so forth, how do you approach other departments and sort of make it, how do you sort of convince them to take part? What are sort of good arguments? Because I think a lot of people are struggling with that.
Well, when I tell you, when I worked at Sony Ericsson, what I did was that I befriended people. So, you know, just going to speak to people, maybe doing some presentations internally to different teams, And if you can talk in their language as well, so don't talk in the language of user experience and things that they're not going to understand. Try and speak it in terms that they will understand, that will make them see the benefits according to what they do in their job. So how will this research help you and your team to be better and be more successful? So talk on that level with them. If it's developers, then pizzas always worked. If you say, you want to get developers to come and observe your research, say that we're going to have some pizzas and we're going to make it into a bit of a fun session. I don't know, be a bit creative, don't be too formal and don't be too pushy. People will rebel against that if you're too pushy with them. Always try and be helpful and make it so that it benefits them to contact you and to get your expertise and advice. Make yourself approachable and sometimes you see people and that they are quite forthright in their views and try and impose it on the company because they feel really strongly about UX, and I get that. I probably used to be that person at one point, but then you realize that the way to persuade and influence people is to speak on a level that will engage more with them. So speak their language. Some of the things that we do in user experience, speak in the user's language, speak your stakeholders' language, and bringing people together as a group, getting them on your side, maybe doing some exercises to highlight the benefits of user research and listening to customer input and the benefits of transferring those insights into your design and what the end output will be and the better business decisions that they'll be able to make. And, that will end up with them getting their promotion because they'll have been more successful. That's effectively how you're helping them, isn't it? Some of these people internally. Right. So be a bit creative. It's also a bit about
the empathy you have towards your coworkers, right? And sort of how you can help them.
Yeah, don't go in there, all guns blazing, you must listen to the customer. It's the right thing to do. Yes. You may not make friends that way, even though it is the right thing to do. We all know that. So be a bit tactful, be persuasive, be helpful, share things as well. So, the more that you can share with others, for your marketing team, you might go, actually, we found these insights that you might find useful in your project. I thought it might help you. If you want to discuss them, let's arrange a meeting. We can go through it together. So being helpful rather than too pushy with people can also help. Get people on your side as well, because the more people that you get on your side, then that will, they become your ambassador as well. So they'll tell other people in their teams. So if you can just make some good friends, some key contacts, and then that spreads the word as well.
Right. Thanks a lot for all your insights. I'm sure our audience learned a lot from your wise words and from all of your experience that you have in the field of UX. So where can people connect with you?
Everywhere.
Do you have a Twitter account or?
Yeah, I have everything. So if you search for Lisa Marie Ortega, I'm on Instagram, Twitter. We have our blog, Keep It Usable, as well. So you can sign up to our newsletter. You can feel free to email me if you want as well. So that's lisa@keepitusable.com if you've got any questions. I can also see some great books being recommended in the chat window, Interviewing Users, Just Enough Research. Just Enough Research is a brilliant book as well. I've got the e-copy, so I couldn't hold up a book for you today for that one, but that's a great book as well. It's been really good reading all your chat text, all your chat messages as well. Thank you everyone for your engagement. That's really great.
Good. I think we're coming to an end. Lisa, thank you very, very much for all your insights. And we'll see you 5th and 26th in London.
Yes. My workshop is on the first day, but I'll be there for both days. Also, if anyone is based in the North, I run UX Crunch North. So we host it as Keep It Usable with the sponsors. So I'm always there at every event at the front with my microphone introducing the speakers. The next one is about designing for mobile. So that will be a great one. We've got Ricardo Ortega speaking, who's the fellow co-founder of Keep It Usable, and he actually worked on the first ever smartphone, the Ericsson T something or other. I don't remember. I'm not old enough for that. But that will be a great one to go to if you're based in the Northwest as well. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. If not, then I'll see you at UX Live, hopefully, as well.
All right. Thank you all very much for joining. And we'll see you at the next Fire Chat.
Thank you so much.
Chat. Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks a bunch, Lisa.